Hello, it's Gracious Onyenhelam again, and I'm here to redo section 4, but this time I'm making the solution reproducible so that it works best for team collaboration. I will also be making the repository public. Right, so let's get right into the video. As usual, I'm having my technical documentation, but this time we're going to work real time on the virtual machine. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to update our server. So I'll quickly go to technical documentation, get the command prompts, and we update our server before anything. It's asking for the user password into the virtual machine, and yes, the updates has started and it's ongoing. So once that is complete, we carry on exactly. So now it's complete, so we carry on with the next task by creating a directory. So copy that, go to our virtual machine, and we cd into it. We change directory into it, so now we are into the folder, and this is where we'll be carrying out subsequent commands. So the next thing here says, next I extracted WordPress into a host bound source code directory. So this is this. So we are going to extract, we're going to install and then extract the WordPress. So this has begun, as you can see. So it's going to carry on for a little while. So why that is happening, we'll get ready for the next, which is to unzip the WordPress file. It's complete, so we unzip. Once we have unzipped, then we are going to remove unnecessary binaries or packages that we may not be needing for the purpose of this projects. So number 2 is we would assign permission and security fix to the files in order to prevent 403 errors. And we'll be creating a .git ignore file, which is going to hide sensitive information and credentials, our password, username, credentials, because only the WordPress content, the plugins, the themes, that's what we are interested for it to be tracked, while Docker will pull the WordPress and the core files automatically by itself, right, from the instructions we are going to give it. So let's give that permission immediately. So asking for user password, then the next thing is to change the mode, give it writable permissions, and then this right here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to initialize Git. Once we initialize Git, then we would have the capacity to ignore some configuration files and credentials, informations that we want to stay away from the public. So this is the git ignore, and then we are also calling on the git ignore to hide some environmental variables and some log files. So once that is that, we move to step 3. So now step 3 says go to GitLab, create a project named Naxon10x DevOps, and then add MySQL root password and MySQL database to the CI/CD variables. So very quickly, we're going to go to the GitLab dashboard. So here we have the GitLab. So for us to be able to do this, we first have to create a project. So we'll create a project and the name says Naxum 10x DevOps. So I'm just going to copy this. I'll create a blank project. This is the name of the project. Paste it right here. And then what user, it's under the username Gracious Descent, and I'm making it public because the instruction said we have to make a public repository, right? So making it public, and everything being equal, I'll go ahead and create. So now we have our project now created. So back to our technical documentation. We have to go to the CI/CD variables and then make edits to these variables. The essence of this is to keep it away from the public eyes, right? So we'll go to CI/CD, we'll go to variables, we'll go to add variable, and we would we'll be adding the variables here. So the first here on the list is the password. So I'm just quickly going to copy that. Once I copy that, I'm going to, then I'll put my root password. So I'm going to mask the video and then come back. So I'll do the same thing for the MySQL database as well. So by the time we are back, we'll be having two variables listed here on the CI/CD variables right here. We'll be seeing two variables here. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we are back, and here we are. We have the database root password and the MySQL database. So these are the values and they have been hashed. And look at the name here, environments, and this is variables, right? So if you recall, you're going to see that this are part of what we told Git to ignore for us, right? So now these credentials have been masked and protected in the git ignore file. So we'll carry on with number 4. Number 4 says we should install Docker Compose. Now this is the orchestration tool that will help setup to be replicated for team collaboration, so that multiple teams can have access to it, and not just on my server or my personal or my virtual machine or just one person, right? So this is where Docker Compose come into play to reproduce the process, to reproduce the setup. So after installing Docker Compose, we're going to create a YAML file, yet another markup language, right? And we'll use the Z flag on the volume, so the system can automatically handle security relabeling for the team collaboration. And the essence of this is that so that any team member that wants to reproduce this exact setup that we are doing right now, they can do that just by a single command, and that command is Docker Compose, turn it up in a detached mode, right? So very quickly, let's go to our virtual machine and create a file called Docker Compose YML extension. So we would be taking this, this is the configuration file that we'll be using. So we'll copy that, but bear in mind I had something up I need to take up. Yes, so we're just going to take out from the services. Yes, exactly. So we'll save that, Control O, enter, Control X. So progressing, we'll start the Docker service. So now we're going to start Docker service using the sudo docker compose, turn it up in detached mode. It's asking for password for my user password. So our containers have been created. As you can see the containers has been created. So moving on, we are going to install the GitLab runner. So now GitLab runner is to automate our deployments so that there are no constant manual efforts from team members. I mean, the essence of DevOps is to streamline operation and speed up deployment. So after that, we're going to grant the runner permission to manage the Docker, and finally, we're going to create the pipeline automation file that is going to redeploy the site whenever someone on the team pushes the code. It could be myself, it could be anyone. So the first thing we're going to do is to take up this code right here, this command to install the GitLab runner, and we're installing it using from the official website, the Amazon Web Service. So we're going to run this on our virtual machine. It's installing the packages, the binaries are installing, as you can see. So while that is going on, we're going to go back, and the next thing that's stated here, next I granted the runner permission to manage Docker. So now this code is to install, while this is to get it from the official website. So now we are installing properly. So this is completed here now. So we're going to use this to install our GitLab runner. So now the package is being installed, as you can see. It's currently being installed. So while this is happening, we would go back to the next. So the next says create the pipeline automation file. So now this is what we are going to do now. So we're going to use the nano utility to call for this. So we're going to create the automation pipeline file, and that is the GitLab continuous integration .yml. So yes, everything has been installed. So we would okay, so this is where we're going to paste our configuration codes for the automation scripts. So we're just going to copy, and we'll take off some parts. I just wanted to have everything captured. Yes, so we're taking off the entire place. We're starting from stages because we're telling GitLab that it should deploy and it should export using those environmental variables. So with everything looking good, yes, we're taking from the stages for it to deploy. So it's basically just the deployment script, the automation script. So once we're done, Control O, enter, Control X, we're good. So moving on, just so that the user do not have to constantly use sudo or having to use permission. So we need to grant Docker into the group, and then GitLab runner to be in the group as Docker as well. And at the same time, we would also be restarting the GitLab runner. So you see, so that we don't have to constantly be getting in. So everything looking good. We go to number 8. So very quickly, we have to go to GitLab and we create a runner. When we create a runner, we are choosing the type as deploy, because in the automation script here, we had noted the tag to be deploy. So we'll quickly go to CI/CD, search for runner. This is runner. We create a project runner and we tag it to be deploy. Everything looking good, then we say create. So once created, you're going to find a registration token which I'm going to mask. It's supposed to be private, supposed to be kept secured. So let's go back to our documentation. So you see, click create runner. So once you copy the registration token and you come back to your terminal to register the runner. So I'm going to skip those processes. I'll register it, and once we register it, it's going to ask me for the protected authentication token. So I'll be back here after I have input my authentication token, which is the registration token that was generated immediately after creating a runner, right? So it's below there. So I'll be right back. Okay, so once I'm done. So once I copied my registration token, I came back to follow the technical documentation. As we can see from here, I had to run the sudo GitLab runner register on the virtual machine, and every other thing followed suit. I had to run all this, added the shell, the executor tagged the deploy, because that's what was in our automation code. Then finally, the executor I identified it as shell, and of course I input the registration token, which is sensitive. Then finally, I assigned the GitLab runner to the Docker group, just like I had done before. But this time around, I'm restarting it so it can pick up after the authentication now, because this is the synergy, this is the handshake between the GitLab and the server. Then, of course, I had to restart the GitLab runner. Then next, we have initializing Git. I initialize Git, as you can see here, and now we are just going to continue. The essence why I had to skip was because of the sensitivity of the password, the registration token. So we'll progress. Once we've done that, we would git add all the files, add all our files. It's going to take a while. While that is happening, get ready to commit the file. Okay, it is added. Then we are committing, and our commit message is 10 times pipeline verified. I'll hit enter. That's committed, and that is committing to our GitLab CI YAML file. Then next, we are going to create a branch called main, because that's the branch that GitLab understands. So we'll create a branch before we push. The server understands master, so we have to change it to the main from the default being master. And then once we've switched to the main branch, then we'll add, just going to send this as once. So we're pushing to, so now it's asking for, we're pushing to our remote repository. So now it's asking for the username. The username is on the GitLab profile. So this is it, Gracious at Decent. So I'm just going to put that here as the username, enter, and the password. So now the password is going to be a token access that I will have to create, and again it's sensitive. So I'm just going to create that, and I'll be right back. Go to access tokens, add a new token, while I'm done creating it, we'll continue. So I'm creating my access token, which I've called WordPress NASM, and I'm just going to choose a random expiration date, just maybe 3 months from now. Okay, then I'll choose the role. I'll choose the owner. I'm the owner. Then I'm going to choose the scopes, the permissions I want. So I'm choosing the API. You have to grant it the API. You have to give it write access, write repository access, read repository access, as well as write registry access. Everything looking good, you create your access token. So I'm just going to copy that, go to our terminal and paste that. Voila, our files are being pushed to the remote repository on GitLab. It's going, it's pushing. So once this is done, so this is completed. So we're going to go to our GitLab because this has been pushed. So we're going to go to the GitLab and go to build. Then go to pipelines and see our CI pipeline has been pushed. Voila, it has been pushed. As you can see, it's passed 10 times pipeline verified. It has been pushed. Has been pushed. So this is it. Alternatively, we can also check by taking this and pasting on the virtual machines web browser, and so we can see the results there. Just so we could see Mozilla Firefox. So we're putting the local hosts, now. Just going to type it myself. Port 8080, take away the bracket here. Everything looking good. Voila, it has been established. The WordPress is now, we have the setup, installation setup page. So alternatively, from the technical documentation, we can also further verify that the pipeline is really working. So we can copy this. When we copy it, then we go to our terminal and run. Once we run it, then we git initialize it and then push. Once we do that, we are going to see their trigger being received at our remote repository on GitLab, and this shows that password. I have to go copy it a minute. So I copied my token and then I pasted here. This was at the point I pasted it here. So once I did that, it's unpacked. It unpacked the new change, this change that was here. So let's go to our pipeline and see that reflection. So very quickly, let's go. Once we go to build, we go to pipelines and we see. So you see, verified automated 10 times deployment. And when we double check, you see this is what we have, and it has been pushed to our remote repository. So finally, we can see that any team member can now clone the repo to their local repository using one command line. The Docker Compose up in a detached mode, right? But meanwhile, they'll have to clone the URL, the repository, the remote repository, and enter into the folder in which the setup was made. And once they are in with this, they are good to go and have the WordPress sites available on their device. So finally, this demo have successfully demonstrated that an automated reproducible DevOps environment on ARMA Linux, and we leveraged Docker Compose with proper security enhanced Linux security labels and an integrated GitLab CI/CD pipeline. Any team member can now deploy or update their entire stack with just a single push. The environment is secure. We containerized it using Docker and ready for collaborative development. Thank you so much.